Welcome to Community Connections with Children's Services Council of St. Lucie County. I am but one of your hosts, Sean Boyle, and with me is
Ashley Mock.
And welcome to the half-hour radio show once a week on 104.5 The Flame, but also once a month, the television show on WLX, the St. Lucie Education Channel. And we are here today both in video and audio format.
It's a very special day.
And we spend this time on this very special day to talk with our with guests and with you, the audience, about what resources, things there are to do for children and families in St. Lucie County. And if you're wondering, why do we have a TV show? Let's kind of recap what we do at the Children's Services Council. We provide programs and resources to families in St. Lucie County in 5 general areas. Those areas are: 1, making sure every baby's a healthy baby with, for example, the nurse home visit program that visits every newborn 1 week after returning home from the hospital, or even before. The second priority is keeping kids in school. Third priority is stopping child abuse before it happens. Fourth priority is keeping kids off drugs, alcohol, and other risky behaviors. And our last priority, but by no means last as in priority-wise, keeping kids off the streets through after-school and summer programs.
I'm glad you saved that one till the end, because we've been talking a lot about...
I did that on purpose.
I like that. We've been talking a lot about keeping kids off the streets, not just in after-school programs, but obviously as we gear up for the summer, which it's hard to believe that it is already here. But in just a few short weeks, our kids will be out of school for the summer. And if you do not already have a plan for what your kids are doing this summer, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but it's going to be here before you know it. And we do have a great list of programs on our website at cscslc.org. We invest a lot of money in programs all year long that keep kids off the streets in those after-school programs like Sean mentioned. But in the summer, we put some additional investments out into the community to make sure that kids have safe, positive places to go, not only to keep them off the streets, but also to ensure that that time that they have away from the classroom, they're still engaged in educational kind of learning environments. So we've got a lot of really cool programs that are happening this year, and you can look at them on our website, kind of get an idea of what each one of them is doing. We've also got location information, contact information, the ages that they are serving, and the times that they'll be open. So if you're looking for a place that's close to work, close to home, whatever it is that you're trying to identify, all of that information is available on our website.
And if you have a student at home, chances are they have a countdown clock going somewhere.
Yes.
In my household, there's a chalkboard because my wife also teaches, and she's counting down the days. But don't wait to get enrolled, because some of these programs, I should say, activities fill up fast.
Yes.
And it's important. Ashley mentioned the educational component. You know, they're not going to summer school. It's a fun activity.
Right.
They kind of sneak that educational component in there, whether it be on field trips or whatever. But it's important that we do that because there's something called the summer slide, where children who don't have access to educational activities, and even if it's just simply reading a book, during the summer they slide behind their peers. And during the school year, they have a hard time catching up. So we want to make sure that our children are engaged in learning activities, but trust me, they are fun.
They are fun. And we should say that we know that there's a lot that other community partners are doing too, as well as St. Lucie Public Schools. There's going to be some information coming out in the next couple of weeks that we are planning to share with all of our programs and our parents about some resources that they're sharing with the community that have been wonderfully put together by staff at the school district for parents to be able to share with their students over the summer, because it's hard. It's hard when the kids are away from the classroom, and then trying to re-engage them when they get back into school in August. So the ability for these programs to keep those kids kind of in that learning phase, if you will, while they're out of school and away from their classrooms is so, so important.
And now maybe you're thinking, Ashley, Sean, I've already got summer activities signed up for my kid.
Cool.
But tell me more about that newborn program or about that program that helps with parenting in the home.
Sure, we can do that too. All of that information is available on our website, which again is cscslc.org. We also have printed copies of these family guides, which Sean is holding up here for our TV viewers. We also have copies of these which we can get to you if you have a business, if you have maybe a doctor's office that you work at, or at your church. We can distribute these to your congregation. We've got copies of these that we're happy to bring to you that you can share with your community. We also have a mobile app Yes, that's very Vanna of you. But we have a mobile app that is free on both the Apple and the Android platform, where you can also get access to all of that information. If you have our mobile app, you can also get push notifications, which will be really important for this summer, because one of the really cool things that we do over the summer is the summer movies. And
hey, you're stealing all my fun things.
I know you love to talk about the summer movies, but one of the really cool things we do through the app is push what the summer movies are going to be each week. So if you don't have the app, this is a really awesome reason to get it, because every week we'll tell you what those summer movies are going to be.
And another great way to stay connected with us is to join us on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
All your friends and family are on Facebook. So jump on Facebook, look up Children's Services Council St. Lucie County, like our page. We post on there nearly every day, but we also get a lot of interaction with residents that communicate with us. Seems to be a very popular way to get a hold of us.
Yeah, and that's fine. You know, we get a lot of questions from parents who maybe are looking for programs or looking for clarifying questions about things they've heard on the radio show or anything like that. It's a great way to ask questions, get connected. It's an easy way to find us.
And if you're really crazy with social media, you can find us on Twitter at CSCSLC, or I'm going to blow everybody's mind, we're on Instagram as well.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
We're still learning all those, but we are definitely on Facebook, and we are sort of on Twitter, and we're dipping our toe into Instagram. But come join us as we learn the process. But I want to talk about the summer movies real quick. You know, we're obviously talking a lot to parents, but I know we have a lot of grandparents in the community, and we have a lot of grandparents that are taking care of their grandchildren. You know, some of the greatest memories, and you said I like to talk about the summer movies, so bear with me. We partner with Regal Cinemas down at the Treasure Coast Mall. We traditionally also partner with Sable Palm, but unfortunately that movie theater is no longer in operation, and it's only $1 to get in. Now, if you've ever been to the movies recently, $1 is a bargain to get into a movie. And they have great activities, or great children's movies, or family movies, I should say. But, you know, some of my greatest memories of growing up when I'd go visit my grandparents was going to a movie, because, you know, we didn't go see a movie very often when I was with my family, because it cost a lot.
Right.
But what an opportunity for grandparents and aunts and uncles and even parents to take their children on, or grandchildren, on Tuesday or Wednesday. It's only $1 to get in. Get out of the heat and create that special memory with your grandchild.
It's a really cool opportunity, and thanks to a partnership, as Sean mentioned, with Regal Cinemas and also the tobacco-free partnership of Martin County, we're able to provide this to all of our residents, and we know that families are taking advantage of it, and we love that they're being able to, again, create those memories. So we'll have that schedule up in a couple of weeks, so keep an eye on Facebook and our website, and we'll make sure that we keep you posted as to what those movies are every week.
What a better reason to download the app.
There you
Because
go.
you'll get notification that morning of what movie's playing, and you'll be like, oh, I know what I'm going to do with my grandchild today.
Exactly.
All right, so before we transition to our guests, I want to remind everybody that this is the Children's Services Council Community Connection Show. But if at any one point you have a question for us and or have a suggestion for a show topic, you can text me directly. Yes, text, yes, directly. And I'm going to read my number because I never call myself, at 772-237-1130. Again, 772-237-1130 if you have a question about a topic that we're discussing or a suggestion for a show.
All right.
Do you want to introduce our guest who quizzed us about, we got her first name down really well, but I'm going to let you pronounce her last name.
Okay, fair enough. So we've talked a little bit, if you listen to the show in the last couple of weeks, we talked a little bit about the fact that May is Foster Care Awareness Month. And if you've been a longtime listener of the show, then you know that foster care is one of my soapboxes. And that
Well, it's not a soapbox. It's been part of your journey.
It's a soapbox.
Your life journey.
I'll claim it as a soapbox. That's okay. But it is something that we talk about a lot on the show because it is part of my life journey and something that my family is really passionate about. So we knew that part of what we wanted to talk about on this show this month was to bring on Devereux, who is a great partner in our community. I think we're really lucky to have Devereux Community Based Care as a partner for the child welfare system here in our community. And we are lucky, I think, to have Denise with us. We were asking her before the show started if she had ever been on the show before, and she hasn't, which I'm shocked by.
Because we've had a lot of people from Devereux on the show.
Devereux staff, but We've got Denise Natalizio with us today, who is a licensing supervisor. Is that right?
The licensing director.
The licensing director. Okay. So I'm not going to go through exactly what Devereux does because that's kind of a really broad assumption, and we've kind of.
And we only have 18 minutes left.
Right. We only have 18 minutes left, so we don't have all that time to talk about it. But we've kind of, last week we had, I told you before the show started, we had Janice Goldsberry on the show last week, who was a former foster youth, who kind of talked with us a little bit about her journey through foster care. And we've talked about my experience with foster care and that we've grown our family through foster care adoption. But I actually shared something on our Children's Services Council Facebook page this morning about the need for foster homes. And I wondered if you could kind of speak a little bit to that, because that's something that Devereux does, is help with the need, recruit foster parents, and kind of put them into the placement agencies. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys have worked? I know the last year has been a big push, and we're doing good, but we're not great.
No, not yet, and we are doing very good. So thanks for having me. Currently, Devereux oversees the 4 counties of Indian River, St. Lucie, Okeechobee, and Martin. And we are tasked with having the responsibility of every child in the foster care system. And May, we like to celebrate our foster parents. And it is National Foster Care Appreciation Month. And our foster parents are the integral part of what we do. And currently, we have about 160 foster families in the 4 counties, and we think that's dynamite, because that is excellent. And that community continues to grow, and we have about 260 children that are in licensed, what we call licensed care. In other words, they can't be in their home or with a family member at this time, so they are in a foster or group home. So the need is there. The need for more foster parents, the need for foster parents to take siblings. We know the sibling bond is the longest bond any of us will ever have, and we strive to keep siblings together whenever we can. So we do recruit and train and license foster parents. And this month, what we are doing for our foster parents is we are having an appreciation dinner, and that is the night for the foster parents. They work tirelessly taking care of our children, and we want to give them a night off, a night to enjoy with each other, a night to get the babysitter, and to just come and have fun, and we celebrate them, you too, as a foster parent. Foster parenting, some people say, well, God, I can't do that. That may have crossed your mind when you were considering it. There's a lot of myths out there about fostering. Well, I don't have a big enough house, or I don't have extra rooms. You don't have to have an extra room necessarily to be a foster parent. Some people have called us and they say, well, I'm single. That's great. We want you to be a foster parent. So we don't want people to let those myths defer them from looking into it and considering it. I am in awe of our foster parents. They open their homes, they open their hearts, they take care of the most vulnerable children that we have, and many have had traumatic childhood experiences, and they need that love and they need that safe place until we can find permanency for them.
Now, I'm going to assume that every listener and viewer knows what a foster parent is, or how why we need foster parents. But I'm betting that there's somebody out there who's probably maybe even heard that term before, but doesn't know exactly what that means. So, can you explain, why we have foster parents?
Sure. When there is an allegation of abuse or neglect or abandonment, the Department of Children and Families goes to the home and they investigate that. And many of those allegations are closed. Sometimes that family needs help, and sometimes that child or the children are not able to maintain safely in their home. And maybe the parents have different issues that we need to work with them on so the children can return safely. And sometimes there are family members then who can take the children in. Sometimes there aren't. And when there isn't a family member or a neighbor or a friend from church or elsewhere, then the children have to come into what we call licensed care. And that preferably is a foster home. And they go into a foster home, and the foster parent is that caregiver and parent to them. And the foster parent works with the biological parent in trying to reunify when that's possible and when that's safe for the child. We want to reunify with the family. And many times it is, and that's great. And they help transition that child and work with the biological parent until that child or children can return home safely. Sometimes, unfortunately, we're not able to do that, and the child or children are adopted.
And I can just share through our experience, the foster parents that we've met in the last year range from young, very young, single, married. You really get a very wide variety of individuals and couples that have become licensed foster parents. They are the most genuine, wonderful group of people that you could ever want to know. I love going to the foster parent meetings every month because I feel like there's always new faces there. But they really are just, the greatest group of people doing the hardest work that you can imagine. And I feel like we kind of skated through very easily. I say that kind of biting my tongue. But we didn't have the typical foster care placement. We didn't. We adopted our first placement, which is very unusual.
It is.
And we are still licensed as a respite and emergency placement. So we, from time to time can take kids who are either transitioning to a family member or from a family member, or maybe their foster parents are going on vacation and need just a weekend or something. So we still are licensed foster parents, but we don't have the in and out like most foster homes do. But we've got great friends that are foster parents, so we get to see a lot of what's happening. And the need is still so great. We still see the exchanges fly from placement offices who are looking for homes for kids, and you just can't imagine the need in our community being what it is. And we always end the show with the tagline that it's our children, it's our community, and it's our future. And I really feel like this is one of those instances where that just really hits home, because they're our kids. And one of the things I think when my husband and I were going through the foster parent training that really struck me was that in these situations, even the situations where we're trying to reunify these kids, if we have expectations where they're having visitation with their biological parent or their siblings if they're separated, but there are no homes in our local community for them, they are placed in Tampa, they are placed in Jacksonville, they're placed in Ocala, Orlando, wherever they are, and then we have greatly diminished the possibility that that child is having visitation with their parent, with their siblings, because we can't keep them in this community. So now we've not only removed them from their family, but we've removed them from their school, from their community, from everything that they know, because we don't have enough homes to keep them close.
And you're correct, and that is what we don't want to do. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to, and that's why we're here talking about this also today, is that there is that need. You mentioned the diversity of foster parents, and that is what we celebrate, because they are as diverse as our children are. And they go through a training, because that's another question that I get asked often. Well, how long will it take? Do I have to wait a year? I'm really excited. That's great. I want to take in a sibling group. And there's a training because we have foster parents that have never parented before, and that's okay. We have foster parents that have biological children and or adopted children in their home. That's also great. We have empty nesters that have raised their children to adulthood, and they're taking in babies and they're taking in teenagers. So it's diverse, and it doesn't matter where you are in that part of your life. The training class is 21 hours. We have several different agencies that provide the training. And some do it on Saturdays, some do it during the week. So it's very flexible. There's different options. There's classes going on and starting every month, several in a month often. And after the training is done, as you know, then there's paperwork. Of course, there's paperwork, and that's important that we have the paperwork completed. But the time frame, really, from the time you finish class to have a child or children in your house can be under 2 months.
It's very quick.
Yes, and we need it to be timely because we do have children that are waiting for placements, and we have siblings that are separated and need to be together. We also, like you said, we want to keep them in their community. We want to keep them in their school of origin. That's very important. We know it's not good for a child when they have to change schools.
Well, and I think it's important to note too that it's not just, this is not just as easy as it might sound. It's not just a matter of putting kids in homes. It's not like that. It is a very, it's more of a puzzle of making sure that these kids are fitting into the right placements. So there's a lot more kind of that goes on behind the scenes of making sure that these families and these kids are going to be good fit together, rather than just kind of making sure that it works for now. Because ensuring that the placement is a good placement makes that foster parent a better foster parent, and makes that child, it's going to be a better, long-lasting kind of scenario for that child as well. So you guys do a lot of work to ensure that all of those pieces fit together, rather than just saying, hey, this works, let's stick this kid here.
Yes, we do, because every family is different, and every family has a different comfort level with the child or children that they want to accept in their home, and we absolutely the licensing counselors work with the families to make that determination. Are you most comfortable with maybe school age from 6 to 12, and you think with the makeup of your home that preference for boys may fit better. And so that's what we do, because like you said, we want that match to be the best possible match for the foster parent and for the child or children.
So May is Foster Care Awareness Month, and it's no coincidence that our May show is dedicated to that. And to cut through the secret reason why we're doing this is we want those people that are interested in becoming foster parents, or at least interested in learning more, to call or get in contact. So is there a phone number that people can get more information?
There's a few different ways. You can like us on Facebook, and Devereux Community Based Care. You can look us up and find us that way. Also on our website, which is devereuxcbc.org. And when you go to that website, you will find a lot of information, kind of what we talked about today, under a foster parent link that can guide you and has all the numbers to get the information for the classes. Or just if you're not sure and you just have a question, we have orientations, so you can come to an orientation and ask all those questions and talk to other people that are considering it. And if there is something that you're just, well, I don't know, then come and talk. Come and talk, or give us a call.
So is there the ability, because let's say somebody's watching, they're like, I don't know if I want to be a foster parent, but I have access to a congregation of 100 people, or I have access to, a social club or something. Is there an opportunity for somebody from Devereux or one of your partner agencies to come speak to that group? Because it's very powerful. Once you learn the need, I could see a lot of, hearts turning towards wanting to do this.
Absolutely. We will come to any civic group, any kind of group, that anytime, yes, So we will do that.
So we've got a couple minutes left on the show, and I really want to spend the time getting people motivated to call. So I'm wondering if you kind of talked a little bit about the myths, that it can be, you can be a single parent, you can be a grandparent, and you talked a little bit about, when families come in, that a lot of times you're a partner with the biological parent for reunification, but sometimes that doesn't work out. But I'm wondering, maybe Ashley or Denise, one of you can talk about, like, what was it that flipped the switch for you to become a foster parent? Because it's a big responsibility, because you're serving, I will argue, our most vulnerable population, children that have been abused and neglected to no fault of their own, and now you're becoming a partner with them, and sometimes with the biological parent. I'm trying to pull on people's heartstrings here, I'm not gonna lie.
I'll tell you a funny story. So Amanda Gooch, I'm going to throw her under the bus publicly, but she'll appreciate this because she did it to me. We would do community events all the time, and she would always bring her family, and she's been a foster parent for a number of, I want to say like 10 years, something like that. So every time she would come, she would have different kids with her, obviously. And every time I would look at her like she was a crazy person, and every time she would say to me, "You should do this," and I would say, "You're crazy. Like, I'm good, thank you." And last week, whenever we hosted the Devereux breakfast, she laughed at me and she said, "Do you remember 5 years ago when I walked up to you and I had 5 kids with me and I told you that this was going to be you one day, and you laughed at me and you said that I was crazy, and look at you, and this is you now." And I laughed and I said to her, "I remember that day," and I do. I think that what it took for me was meeting the kids in care, because I think that not only do people have myths about foster parenting, but they have myths about foster kids. And you have all these ideas about why they're in care, and you hear stories about that they're in care because they're bad kids, or that their parents can't handle them, or whatever led them to be into care, and you hear all these terrible stories about it, and whatever gets televised, the Lifetime movies that are just tragic, and whatever kind of ideas you have in your head about it. I think for us it took meeting kids and understanding that they just needed someone to love them, and that was it. And that's really all it was for us. We also had some great foster parent friends who were very, not pushy, but just accepting of our decision to kind of ask questions when we needed to. And they were gracious and answered our questions when we asked them, and welcomed us when we were there.
And I think we've got about 30 seconds left, but I think that's important to note that when you become a foster parent, there is a network of support,
Huge.
not only through Devereux and other community partners, but also through the foster parents themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're going to end the show. We want to thank Denise for coming on. I'm not going to say your last name, but thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having
It is Foster Care Awareness, so if you know a foster parent, thank them, because they are selfless and they are the true heroes of our community. And as Ashley said, a reminder and an incentive that it's our children, it's our community, our future. We're all in this together. Get involved. We'll see you next time.